With Werewolf by Night, Marvel does introduce their first Marvel Studios special presentation. Something you could compare with a comic one-shot, where you have a standalone story that is not part of a serial. As Kevin Feige announced that this special would introduce a part of the MCU that would become quite important in the future of the franchise, will this special presentation live up to the hype, or will we say, well, better luck next time? If you'd like to find out, then join me for this review video. The Bloodstone is a sacred weapon that has long been used by monster hunters to keep those creatures in check. It can force them back, and it can force the monster out if it is just hiding inside a human form. The last bearer of this weapon was Ulysses Bloodstone, whose last name is very likely stemming from the fact that they are wielding the Bloodstone, otherwise it would just be a very stupid coincidence. After his death, the Bloodstone needs a new master. And since his daughter Elsa, who would have inherited the stone, has turned her back on the family a few decades ago due to the fact that her father was training her too hard and she is not agreeing with the ways her father was leading out the community of hunters. Now after his death, his second wife has organized a competition, following his wishes, where the world's greatest hunters, who previously lived in anonymity, come together for the first time, showing their faces, to compete for this relic. Among those hunters is also Elsa, who has lost her right to the stone, but is still allowed to compete for it. The task of a competition? There is a monster on the hostess grounds that was unleashed for the hunters to kill. Whoever managed to do the job will inherit the Bloodstone. And if on their journey they have to kill each other, that is also just fine. Among those hunters is also Jack Russell, who, when he ran into Elsa, did not try to kill her as all the other hunters would have done. So intrigued by that, when she finds herself being locked up inside a room with him, they decide to join forces. Because Jack, as it turns out, is actually not a hunter, but the friend of the monster they are supposed to hunt. A creature, or let's call it a man-thing, that goes by the name of Ted. The agreement is simple. As Jack has no interest in having the Bloodstone at all, while Elsa is not interested in killing the monster and just wants to have the Bloodstone, it was really an easy deal to strike between the two of them. However, after managing to open up a door, so to speak, for Man-Thing to leave and get to safety, Jack, in a reflex, was trying to pick up the stone to give to Elsa, but immediately was knocked out by an impulse coming straight out of a stone. A standard reaction of a stone, as it turned out, when it is being touched by a monster. So we learn that Jack is also a monster, and not just the friend of one, which actually doesn't come as that big of a surprise, especially if you look at the title of this special. As punishment for her betrayal, Elsa is put into a cage together with Jack, who tells her that he indeed is a werewolf, by way of saying that once a month he is transforming into something else at full moon, and tells her not to worry because the next full moon is in 4 days. To which she just tells him that the Bloodstone can force the creature out of him at any given time. As he has next to no control about the creature when he is transforming, he is sniffing her scent, trying to make himself familiar with her so he does not forget her when he is transformed into this other creature. He also tells Elsa that she should never drop eye contact with him, because this helps him to concentrate on not attacking her. When Elsa's stepmom returns with the remaining hunters who did not kill each other while fighting for the stone, and a large number of her goons, she is forcing the wolf out of Jack. Just after he begged her not to do this, because once the monster is out, there will be no mercy. Which she just shakes off, saying that they are the ones who are merciful, because by killing monsters, they are saving them and everyone else who would be hurt by them from that fate. Surely enough, after being transformed, he just breaks out of a cage as if the bars were made out of butter, attacking everyone around except for Elsa, who he didn't touch while they were both still in the cage. She then is joining the fight, killing everyone who is not Jack and fighting for the other side, until only Jack is left and the two are facing each other. After first jumping her, he is recognizing her and stops his attack, quickly then leaving the premises. As then Elsa's stepmom, who we presume to be dead, was getting up again and threatens to kill Elsa, she is rescued by Ted, who was looking for Jack. Being now the only surviving member of the party except for some remaining goons, Elsa sits down and takes over the whole compound, which she, after her stepmom's death, also seems to have legally inherited now. While she leans back with a bloodstone in her hands, we see Jack waking up, having been guarded by Ted, who hands him a cup of coffee and catches him up on what happened before the end credits set in. Oh dear, that ended up being quite a long synopsis again. Sorry about that. So let's start with the technical aspects of this special. The special was filmed in black and white, with only the bloodstone giving a little bit of a red shine, while some other scenes seem to be slightly tinted in a different color from time to time. This was partially an artistic choice, but also an homage to all those black and white monster movies from the 30s and 40s, although the special took place in the here and now. I was a little bit afraid that this gimmick would get old very quickly, especially since there were also some artificial scratches in the picture, giving the special the touch as if the material would also be quite old, including the narrator voice that sounded a little bit distant like in those old movies. I thought that something like this has stopped being original after being used in Tarantino's and Rodriguez's Grindhouse, but I have to admit that having had a side gig as a projectionist back in the day, it brought a smile to my face when I saw those cue blips on screen, which indicates the moment for the projectionist to switch from one reel to the next, something that today would not happen anymore, especially not for a TV special. It was also nice to see that most of the effects were practical and not digital, except for the man thing, but that is of course for the reason that you couldn't have pulled that off convincingly with practical effects, at least not in the way that they have approached it. And referring back to what I said in the introduction, Kevin Feige indicated that this will be the kickoff to something we haven't seen before and that will become quite relevant in the future. So of course we can expect to see the Werewolf by Night, as well as the Man Thing that was introduced as well with this episode, in future properties. And of course then you don't want to have to stick to practical effects with a creature like the Man Thing if everything else around him is digital. With that being said, you can expect in the future to have a team up, very likely of the Legion of Monsters, which is a team of superheroes consisting just of monsters. Usually a part of a team is the Werewolf by Night as well as Man-Thing, and depending on which iteration we are looking at, maybe the Ghost Rider or Morbius might also be coming along soon. And on the other hand we have Elsa Bloodstone, who is now the bearer of the eponymous Bloodstone. She's also a well-known hero from the comics and also as part of a team of superheroes who band up to fight mostly monsters. But only the bad ones, because as this special really well established, she is willing to work with a good monster, especially now that she is friends with one, or even two, because Ted is also friendly with her, which clearly differentiates her from her father and the way monster hunters around the world previously were taking charge of things, just killing every monster without questioning if they are good or bad. So we might see a new group of hunters around Elsa. Maybe this will be the Fearless Defenders. A group that, at least in the comics, also has Valkyrie as a member between them. And we also have Valkyrie in the MCU, so maybe she is joining forces with Elsa in the future. By the way, at this point let's have a quick call out for Gael Garcia Bernal, who is playing Jack in this special, and Laura Donnelly, who is playing Elsa and who we also recently enjoyed seeing in the series The Nevers as the lead. The rest of the cast also did a solid job, but beside Harriet Harris, who was playing Elsa's stepmom, nobody else left a deeper impression due to the fact that their characters were really only cannon fodder in this special, because with just 53 minutes runtime, you cannot expect all those hunters to come with an elaborate backstory, which I guess is one of the downsides of this approach with a one-off TV special. However, this show did a great job of introducing us to the world of monsters in a very quick and easy and direct way, something that will very likely be continued in the movies or other TV shows, where I would say at least with Blade we can expect one of those creatures to make an appearance there, and maybe there will be a TV show around the Legion of Monsters in the future. We will see, but we can be sure that we have not seen the last of Jack, Ted and Elsa. Also kudos to Michael Giacchino, who was the director of this special and also composer of the soundtrack. He is actually mostly known as a composer and made his directing debut with this special. Well, he did a short film and some short tracks for Star Trek Discovery before, but this was his first bigger project as a director, where he, like I said, did a quite convincing job, and I would assume that maybe especially when it comes to the new Marvel venue of monsters. He might be returning as a director again. Now, before we get to the rating, let me ask you to like and share this video if you enjoyed it so far. And if you are no subscriber yet, maybe consider to change that. By also hitting the notification bell, you will get a heads up for most of my new videos. Now for the rating. Well, as a standalone entity, this special did a very good job of just introducing us to the characters straight away without elaborate backstories and stuff like that. I would have appreciated a little bit more of that if they would have had the time, or if they would have created a cinematic movie or a TV show. But as it was just supposed to be a standalone one-off special, I say it did as good a job as one could expect. The art design was great, with very atmospheric buildings, and the maze that they used to hunt the monster was also a very nice piece of set design. So visually, especially with the practical effects, everything was great and you cannot complain about anything here. The acting was cool and the characters were likable, especially Ted as the monster, which was a tough task to achieve, which they mostly managed, I would say, with the use of his eyes and his eyebrows to convey Ted's feelings. The design of the werewolf itself was okay, but felt a little bit less impressive as it should have been, especially since he is so super strong. But I'm not familiar with the design of the monster in the comics. But also I think they did a good job at least to still make it so that you can recognize Burnell under the makeup, which I guess was their intention, so it worked out as they have planned, I would say. The special manages it well to make appetite for more monsters in the MCU in the future, something that Feige also promised, so we will likely not be disappointed there. Based on all this, I guess 8.5 out of 10 points is a fair score here, because this special was great and almost excellent, except for those small things I mentioned, like the lacking character development, which you cannot really achieve in just 53 minutes. So a little bit more runtime might have elevated this special even further, but 8.5, come on, that's a great score. So what do you think? Were you happy with this special, or did you expect something different? Or did you expect something more? Are you psyched to see more monsters in the MCU, or is that something you think just does not fit into the MCU at all? Whatever you think, whatever it is, just let me know in the comments. So much for now, see you next time and thanks for watching!